Hey, welcome back, guys. Happy Saturday. Boom! We are halfway through the month of July. As quick as you could blink an eye, we are there. And of course, things are never going to change. When Blue Ridge Silverhound is on the prowl, we're going to be looking, talking, and finding some of the most relevant errors and varieties to have sold on eBay here in the last couple days. Yeah, a lot of great stuff to talk about. Market seems to be doing well going through the summer. I thought for sure it'd be limping along, but yeah, there's still people shopping around out there, and the overall buy prices on a lot of the coins is what you would expect for what is exactly needed. Sure, some of the lower end, lower tier errors like laminations and clips have kind of fallen off a little bit, compared to what they were selling at before the summertime hit. So I mean that's no big surprise. Generally, all the crap I guess kind of floats to the top, and the lower end totem pole type of errors. Will be the first to be affected by all this. But still, there's still some money to be made out there if you're looking to supplement your income by going through bankrolls or maybe cherry picking the local hotspots like a coin show or, some show, that might be in town are always popular types of activities that people do to find some of the coins you're about to see here today. And most importantly, all the coins are raw. All right. The reason why that they're raw is they don't have quite the value in the marketplace to sustain a much needed grading service to make them much more expensive. It just doesn't work out trying to send your $20 to $50 coin to get graded by PCGS, spend all that money for the attribution and shipping and insurance, just so the coin could still remain $20 to $50. Again, doesn't make any sense. So that's why I like to talk about here. I do have a supplement report that I do about at the beginning of every month, just kind of highlighting some of those graded coins due to popular demand. People do want to know what's out there graded wise that has been selling. So, and of course, all of the listing photos are original to the respective sales. I didn't modify or juice any of the listings whatsoever. So you're going to get the best and the worst images quality-wise out there. So that's not going to change. It's something that I pay forward to let you guys know that maybe there's a specific photography tip I'm going to tell you. It all works out in the end, and people are generally appreciative of that. All right, so let's go ahead and jump in and see what has sold here on eBay for the last couple days. We're going to start it off with a perennial favorite of mine, but admittedly, I've never found a low leaf or a high leaf Wisconsin statehood quarter ever. These were dumped in a concentrated batch around Texas, Oklahoma, and Arkansas. As a matter of fact, the coin that you see here is a high leaf variety, so you can see that extra leaf that is not supposed to be there on here. This one was sold actually in Texas, believe it or not. So, yeah, most of the sales that we see of raw examples that look like they've been in circulation for a while have certainly come from this region in the U.S. Again, still bolstering some pretty nice sales. This one right here in this condition did sell for $97. So, yeah, still some value here. And as long as you want to continue to roll hunt quarters, this is going to be a coin that you could possibly find. I know a lot of people have had success finding both the low leaf and high leaf variants of this coin. The next one that we have here, probably not one that you'll come across hunting through rolls, but more so these next few coins are going to be examples that possibly you could buy on the cheap, or maybe you could see them being sold in a lot. We see a lot of lots sold with sold listings of broad strikes and off-center strikes. This 1985 right here is a pretty good looking broad strike. Now, when you get into the zinc-in age or the zinc-in composition of coinage, you best believe that there's going to be some plating splits. This one shows plenty of that. So, um, they are still collected, even though they look like this. It doesn't hurt the coin as long as it's stored properly. Moisture is something that you want to be mindful of as you're storing these coins. This one right here, I would say, is a mid-state example that did sell for $31.68. So it's not too bad of a sale. It is a little bit tougher date to come across of this particular anomaly. Much like the previous coin, here's another good one right here, 1978 Washington quarter. This one is a copper nickel clad compo, and this one's off center, I would say, by about 15-20%. It's a good looking, very minty fresh coin. This one right here is sold for $83.78. Some of these later dated 70s off center strikes can get a little bit pricey. This is just one prime example here of just not a lot of supply, but loads of demand, because these are, again, collected by date. All right, so someone must have split apart a 1978 set, all from the same seller, of course. Here's a Roosevelt dime. This one is actually a lot tougher than it looks. It's off-center by about 15%, and pretty nice, again, mid-state BU condition coin. This one ended up selling for $58.78. And then finally, we also have a 1978 Lincoln Memorial set. And yeah, again, this is a tougher date. The Lincoln Memorial off-center struck crowd are really actively looking again for some of these later 70s coins. This one I could tell you is pretty tough because I've looked for these, seeing as how it's my birthday year. But yeah, they get pretty pricey. These are not $10, $20, $30 coins at all. This one ended up selling for $42.78. Again, just a really pretty looking example. It's off center by about 20%. And that's really all you could ask for a coin to fill a date set. So we have here next another Roosevelt dime, this time a 1966 Rosie that exhibits two noticeable clips on there. So we have a much larger curved clip by the date. And then right there, close to the 3 o'clock position, you're going to have a much shallower rim clip. These coins, again, are generally low end of the totem pole in the error community. Still collected because, as a more value proposition type of collecting standard, these are kind of like the next best thing, all right? And it's a very inexpensive, budget-friendly error to collect, especially if you're doing like an entire date run. This particular coin right here is sold for $22, and I can say that it's probably one of the more tougher dates to find a double clip on, all right? So the more clips on the coin, the more it's worth. So there were a couple of these particular errors that sold that we're going to talk about today. This is a 1986p Jefferson nickel. At first glance, it looks like, if you're just isolating the front of the coin, it looks like it's off center. All right, so that's a pretty easy thing to kind of mistake this as, because when you flip the coin over, you have a completely centered, well-struck reverse. So when you have this off center front and perfectly centered reverse, this is what they call a misaligned die strike. Some people call them MADs, for short. This one right here is especially relevant because when you have a misaligned die strike that cuts off a lot of the devices, like this one is here, that's really what matters, because I've seen some relatively minor misaligned die errors, and they could sell for a couple, $2 or $3, but when they become to look like this, and the coin, by the way, is in phenomenal shape. You have lots of steps there on Monticello. This one right here sold for $43.99 with a total of 14 bids collected on this one. Again, another well-collected error type. There's just not enough of them out there to fulfill demand at the moment. And they are comparatively a lot more tougher to find. Probably a little bit tougher to find than off-center strikes, so that's something worth noting. Here's a 1935 Buffalo nickel. Now this is kind of like a kind of like that ideal cherry pick. Like if you went to a coin show and let's say dealer A had a whole bunch of just kind of like run of the mill, less than stellar, kind of like album filler type of Buffalo nickels. Sometimes they'll even have them, priced in a binder, with a bunch of other coins, for under $1. Or they'll have these in a kind of like a bowl, a whole bunch of them in a bowl, and then you just kind of cherry pick through them. They're not exactly the bread and butter of any dealer, but it certainly fulfills kind of like that lower end purchase. You have one guy comes in, spends easily $1,000 in coins, but how about the little guy? All right, that has maybe only $40 to spend. They'll go and cherry pick, bulk lots like Buffalo nickels in the hopes of finding a coin like what you see here. Now, at first glance, the coin does not look that great. You got a lot of spots everywhere, but overall, it's a decently graded, kind of like VF25-ish type of coin here. You do have nearly a full horn there on the Buffalo. But if you know your varieties, 1935 is well known for the FS, whatever this is, 801. Yeah, FS 801 variety. That's a cherry picker's guide classification number. You can see just some tremendous doubling here on the words 5 cents. This is your main focal point for this double die. This one is well known amongst Buffalo nickel experts, and even lower graded examples like this one have a lot of need in the collecting community. But also do not forget about E pluribus unum. This has some of the strongest doubling that you will find, bar none, on any other Buffalo nickel, let alone Jefferson nickel series. I mean, this thing is quite nice, and if you're able to find one that's like an AU condition coin, congratulations, that's a heck of a find. But this one right here ended up selling for $43.85. They don't get too much cheaper than this. I know, when they get to be like VG or somewhere around there, they might dip into the 20s, but that's it. These things do not go to zero. They don't go under $10. These are steady sellers. So if you have access to a bulk lot of Buffalo nickels, this might be something right here to be looking for. All right, the first lot that we're going to talk about on this edition of the PCMR is not a good one. Not a good one. It's a lot of 10 Lincoln Memorial cents that are all off-center. The problem I have with this, and it's pretty easy to see, is that they're all damaged in some way, either chemically or they've been cleaned. They just have that appearance of being cleaned. And ultimately, that's going to hurt the value of these. Another thing working against this a lot of off-center struck Lincoln cents is that, well, they have no readable dates. All right, and what we do know about collectors of this type of error is they want fully readable dates so that way they can insert it into a date set or maybe purchase one as like a birthday present because it's a birth year. The date means everything in the world for this type of error, but man, take a look at these coins. They are just straight up flaming hot Cheetos garbage. I mean, that's what I'm seeing here. All of the issues and problems with the coins offsets the possibility that you can buy this and flip each coin individually. After I tell you how much it sold for, you're probably going to agree and say that it's not that good of a buy. This one ended up selling for $54. Yikes. $5 a piece doesn't seem all that bad, but yeah, no readable dates, and they're all damaged, which is unfortunate. And it looks like they were all damaged pretty similarly. I don't know what the deal is here with these, but yeah, it's bad. And you can't even tell if they're bronze or copper coated zincans. I just can't tell when they become this bad. Yeah, it's just really hard to tell sometimes. But with that being said, just do your homework, your research. Know exactly what you're buying into. If it's too good to be true, then it probably is. And then also keep and take into consideration your buying audience. Will they want something like this? Okay, just kind of ask yourself that. All right, getting back to some beauties. How about 1984P Jefferson Nickel? This puppy is broad strike to the next level. It's probably as big of a size of a quarter. Now, I didn't allude to it or talk about it, but I always like to bring it up. A broad strike occurs when the collar that holds the coin in during the strike is not engaged at all. So you have this open area on the outside of the striking chamber that when a coin is struck, the metal flow doesn't stop at a collar. All right, it continues to flow outwards. It's kind of like pressing your thumb into a ball of Play-Doh. When you do that, the material expands outwards. That's what we're seeing here with a broad strike. This one is probably, you would consider it to be an uncentered broad strike. Still a very attractive coin, very, very minty fresh, nice BU specimen right here. This one sold for $108.97 with 22 bids. Based off of that dollar figure, I have a sneaky suspicion that this one is a little bit tougher date. All right, so yeah, there are dates that kind of are like key dates, for specific varieties. Again, if these are collected by date, which most of them are, there's going to be a few stoppers in there. And then the stoppers, you're going to have to pay a lot more money to own one of those. All right, this is not a great picture at all, but the seller had a number of these 2013 $1 bill star notes. These are New York B District notes. These are what we call duplicate run stars. So the Fort Worth and Washington, D.C. BEP facilities double printed the exact serial number runs for both. So what people are doing is they're trying to make up a Washington, D.C. printed note, which was printed way back in 2013, and then a Fort Worth version, which was printed 4 years later. Obviously, if you're able to match up like serial numbers, people grade them, and then all of a sudden you have a pair of notes that's worth upwards of $1,000 for the set. So that's kind of like the goal, the end game to purchasing these, and that's why these have had a really good secondary market. Now, to tell the difference if they're printed in DC or Fort Worth, this one will have a little FW here. I know it's like way out of focus, but that's just the original picture. It'll have an FW sitting right next to the plate number here on the bottom right corner of the note. That'll designate where this one was printed. But with that being said, this one ended up selling for $44.14 with 17 bids. Again, condition plays a huge role in how much these sell for. They could sell as low as $10-15 sometimes if the note is pretty well worn. This one's in pretty good shape, so that's why it sold for this amount. Now, speaking of lots, all right, the Lincoln Cent lot was not that good. All right, but how about this 3-coin lot of Washington Quarter broad strike or off-center strikes? I think this one right here has a lot more staying power, a lot more opportunity to flip for real money profit. But we have a lot of 3. We have 84P and 86, what looks to be P, and an 86, kind of this left one right here. It's kind of hard to tell if it's a P or D, but wow, a very attractive mix here. So the 3 coins in total sold for $92.95 with 18 bids. And, you could probably make a few bucks selling this. I know for a fact that 1986 is a much tougher date than it looks. The 84, I've seen a few of them out there, and ironically, it's the least impressive specimen out of the 3 coins. But overall, I mean, this one right here is a good buy if you're adding to your collection and you like attractive kind of like broad strikes and off centers of this wonderful series. Or if you want to resell it, I think a $50 bill for each of these is not completely out of the question. Again, it's not going to be a quick sell. You put it up for a buy it now type of price and then just sit on them. But of course, you're going to have other coins and other items you're selling as well. These are more supplemental kind of listings to your store. that will kind of bear fruit in the long run. All right, so this one right here, man, took me back. All right, 2001 $1 bill. Check out the serial number. You have 8s and 3s in there. They call this very loosely a binary. Even though a true binary is 0s and 1s, it's a term that's been adopted by fancy serial number collectors for any 2 digits that's repeated or kind of like in the serial number in some aspect. Excuse me. So, yeah, this one right here, I mean, it obviously came out of circulation. It's got wrinkles all over the place. But it did sell for quite a bit of money. $102.88 is what this one sold for. They threw it up on eBay as a buy it now listing, and someone hit that button. So, yeah, I mean, you know, if you need it and the numbers have some sort of relative significance to you, then that's the main reason why that these sell. All right, much like birthday notes, right? They sell because someone has a birthday of that serial number. But overall, yeah, I mean, notes in any condition will sell if it has some of those fancy serial numbers and various other neat patterns. All right, so at first glance, you probably don't see anything funny with this one. It's a 1980D Lincoln Memorial cent, kind of like your run-of-the-mill, you know, pocket change find. But check out Lincoln's schnoz, man. The bridge of the nose is like disappearing. And what we have here is an abraded die or an over-polishing of that area on the die to create the appearance of a floating nose. So yeah, this is just a really simple, very basic kind of observation by the finder of this coin. And yeah, I mean, pretty neat sale here at $11.50. And that's all because that they were able to find something like this, and a fellow error collector saw the value into it and bought it. So I would say that's a pretty worthwhile find, and it's on a Denver. So yeah, go check it out. Make sure you're not throwing these back. Now, it's hard to miss this one. It's a 1980 Lincoln Memorial with a huge, large cut die break on the obverse of the coin. But as nice as the cut is, this thing has some corrosion issues on the reverse. But don't let that stop you. If you see that, sell it, all right? If it doesn't appease kind of like your collecting direction, or it's too ugly for you to keep in your collection, there will be someone that will buy this. Now, this one right here was a really nice sneaky sale at $66 and 12 bids accumulated to that. I would take that all day long, you know, if that's your thing and you're just not crazy about the green corrosion on the reverse. Another good one here, we have an undated Jefferson nickel. As you can tell, we got a lot of strike through happening, so much so that this is a late stage struck through capped die. All right, so the die had another coin that was capped on there. After so many strikes, it will produce the coins that you see here. This particular one sold for $31.11 with 2 bids. All right, our main feature coin, and we have 2 of them this week, are going to be the American Samoa Strikethrough quarters. They're only found on 2020 P-minted quarters. Hard to believe that this thing is over 2 years old. This was the first quarter released in 2020, of course. So, I mean, yeah, people actually love this design. But pretty crazy. The U.S. Mint, this is where things began to kind of like fall off the wagon, so to speak. And we began to see a lot more U.S. Mint errors coming out of the woodwork. And this was kind of like the one that anchored everything for the last like 30 months. It was pretty crazy, but yeah, you can see the not only the apparent strike through right on the bat's face, but you can also see the parallel lines coming off the field there. Those are feeder finger scrapes. This is affectionately referred to as a field restricted strike through. All right, so there's a little gob paste of grease or whatever it is that's been pushed around by the feeder finger, creating what you see here. This one sold for $70.98. This is typically the smallest strike through that you will find on the American Samoa back quarters. Such an amazing find. More to come on this one. And of course, we can't forget the brand new quarters as well. We got a Sally Ride here, 2022. More of that field restricted stuff. As you can see right here, that goes from In God We Trust into George Washington's hair on the obverse. Pretty notable, very sizable error here. Some would say that these have fallen off, but I beg to differ, especially with the brand new Wilma Mankiller error that's floating around out there. People might be letting their sights kind of weaken on the other stuff, but don't let this one slip past your grasp, as they still carry a lot of value. This one ended up selling for $64.75. And the same strike through can be found on the Maya Angelou. Now, the seller did not provide reverse pictures. And I can't stress that enough. That is important. Full obverse and reverse pictures on every listing. But this one right here has that same type of strike through in just about the same area. An equally impressive coin. This one sold for $50. So a quick little $50 hit right there is always something that I'm sure a lot of us can use. And if you find one, more than likely you're going to find a lot more. These things travel together very well. So this was a pretty neat one that came across here in the last day or two. It's a 1984 Lincoln Memorial Cent doubled die obverse. This is the FS101 doubled ear. So you can see the doubled earlobe right there. Always a big, huge hit. Not a particularly high-grade specimen, although the seller did mention it's, uncirculated, but it kind of does not look like that. We know it's a full brown, all right? It's not a mint red or a red brown. This one right here ended up selling for $133.49. The prices on these 1980s double dies have been shooting up here recently, all right? They're not affordable anymore. And of course, another big coin that is still floating around out there is coming from last year is the 2021P Washington crossing the Delaware Crown die chip. All right, this is the most advanced stage of the crown chip that you see atop Washington's hat on the reverse. It even goes into the words E pluribus unum. This one right here is sold for $94.24. Still a nice little payday if you're able to find one of these. They're always worth keeping and saving. All right, so here's our other misaligned die coin of the week. It's a 1982 large date bronze, and you can see again that just nasty off-center appearance to the front of the coin, albeit there's not nearly enough stuff on the rim area of the coin to show, just how crazy the off-center strike is on this. But it's pretty well centered on the reverse. Again, another coin to be on the lookout for. This coin looked like it's passed through many hands before someone finally saved the day. A good thing, too, this one ended up selling for $51 with 15 bids. Very easily could have slipped by anyone's hands. Our next piece of currency is a $5 bill, this time in 1974. Now, this one is a beaut. Featuring a mismatched serial number. You'll see that the second digit in both sets of serial numbers are completely different. We got a 5 and a 6. So, these happen on occasion. More so on newer notes, but these can be older notes, but these can also be found on newer notes, especially with the transition of the new printing press that's printing to overprint on these. They've been screwing up quite a bit, and those can be found on 2017A notes. All right, I believe they're FJ blocks, if I'm not mistaken. But this is a good one right here. Proven again. See, as you can tell, it's not even graded. All right, so graded, spending $50 to do that might be a little bit irrelevant considering this sale. This one ended up selling for $394 with 10 bids. Again, another fantastic sale of a note that needs no graded holder. Just buy it, add it to your collection, and enjoy it. The note rather does exhibit some circulation wear. And again, another one to be on the lookout for. Your perennial soda machine kind of find is going to be the 2000p Sacagawea dollar Wounded Eagle. This is the FS901. showcasing a couple of the die gouges that you see going through the breast feathers of the eagle on the reverse, and that's how it got its namesake. All right, so yeah, always a good one to look out for. They're highly liquid in any condition. This one right here is sold for $161.45, which is a kind of like an all-time high considering the grade, which is circulated. I would say it's probably like an AU53 at best. I've seen much better condition coins sell for a little bit less, right around that $100 bill mark. And this one's neat, man. I haven't seen one of these in quite some time, and this is probably the most wildest, most advanced stage of die chipping on the Homestead Quarter. Now, these can only be found on the 2015P minted quarters. But check out all of the die chipping. These are referred to as the snowy roof. So you can see all of the snow on top of the roof on both sides, right at the pitch, on the left and on the right. But also note that there is a nice gob of snow right here above the this window right here. That's not snow, as designed. It's just die chipping. Yeah, none of this stuff is supposed to be on there, and this is, again, probably one of the most well-advanced stages of this this deterioration of the die through wear and tear. This particular coin right here, God, I haven't known these to sell for this kind of money, but I'm glad I witnessed it today. $58.97 is what this one finally sold at, which is just phenomenal. Now, not a coin that you would see every day, but it's a 1969D Lincoln Memorial that was struck on a dime planchet. So it's a Roosevelt dime planchet, copper nickel clad in nature. This one right here sold for $333.99. Again, this is the type of coin that you would see in a graded holder. All right, so it's probably going to end up in one someday. And again, that we've talked about the last few weeks, another rotated die 2021P Jefferson nickel. This one is rotated roughly about 45 degrees clockwise. Hard to believe that these kind of errors are still being found on much newer coins, proving once again that, the human element of error is still very much a real thing in today's age. This one right here sold for $30.80 with 11 bids. Again, always look out for these. It's really easy money. And here's a 1965 Washington Quarter. This one has two rim clips, much bigger, slightly curved clip there at the top. But yeah, a good looking coin right here. This one sold for $19.99. And another coin to be on the lookout for if you're cherry picking just bulk, low end, low ball type of coins. How about a 1918S Buffalo Nickel, which is somewhat tougher date, but given the overall appearance of the coin and the fact that there's a pretty big scratch right on the Indian's bust right there at the top, says everything. But this is also a two-feather variety piece, okay? Their third feather was over-abraded, or abraded in general, so it's over-polished and disappeared. Another one of those dates to be on the lookout for. This one sold for $30, if you can believe that. But I do think this is one of the more tougher dates. 1918S, without the two-feather, is still a very tough date, for people that are looking for it. Now, this ragtag looking dollar bill right here is a silver certificate. It's a 1935E series. Man, nothing really to write home to mother about when you first look at it. It's like, if it wasn't for this error type, this thing would be worth about $1.50 to $2. But look how well centered the print and all that is on the front. But when you flip it over, wow, look at just how misaligned the sheet was when they did the back print. Doesn't match at all to what's up front. So this one right here ended up selling for $67.66 with 4 bids. There's a butt for every seat. So yeah, these will sell, and they will sell really well. So be on the lookout. Cherry pick your local dealers' silver certificates, because they will miss stuff like this. This is a really cool looking 1952D Lincoln wheat cent. That's broad struck. Just a good looking coin right here. Very nice condition as well. Probably a tough date for what it is. As you can see, it's way bigger than a standard Lincoln cent. Probably closer to what a Jefferson nickel size is. This one right here is sold for $68.80. The earlier off centers and broad strikes pre 1960 always commands a huge market premium. And here's another one of those struck through cap die coins, this time on a Lincoln wheat cent. No readable date, and I wouldn't even consider this to be a late stage. This is probably middle stage, you know, kind of like right down the middle. You don't even see a lot of the transfer of the devices going through the die cap. It's not thin enough yet. But good looking error right here. This one sold for $33.90. And oh boy, we're going to end it off on this bad Mamma Jamma. 2020p American Samoa strike through right on the good old bat face. I'm telling you guys, this coin, like I had predicted 2 years ago when these things were selling for a few $100s, guess what I said? These were going to age well. And surely they did. It's one of the most relevant modern day errors. And this is kind of like, this is one of those marquee kind of place marker coins that's going to help determine how the error market goes for moderns in the future. You know, we're 2 years removed from when this was found. And I have a feeling that 5 years later on the road, people are going to still want these. But the question is, will they find them as nice a condition as this one? Probably not. There is that matter of the Mid-State 64 PCGS graded example that sold, I believe, last year for $1,000. And there hasn't been too many since. All right. A lot of raw examples, a lot of circulated examples have entered the marketplace, and they're all being scooped up at records amounts of money. This one right here ended up selling for $245.99 with 24 bids. Lots of people were interested in this, and I'm glad to see such a tremendous sale on a coin that, you know, you would think that you would write off because it's 2 years old, but not so. This coin is very much on the back of collectors' minds, and it will stay that way for the foreseeable future. Well, that's going to go ahead and do it for this one, folks. I'm your host, Sean with Blue Ridge Silverhound. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to my video and channel if you want to. I mean, we talk about some pretty good stuff in these videos, but that's going to go ahead and wrap it up for your Saturday. Best of luck in all of your hunts. I wish you guys nothing but the best. Go ahead and find yourself some pretty big coins out there. It's riddled in circulation, and you know, they have a lot of value to them. But that's going to wrap it up. You guys have a wonderful weekend. I shall see you guys on the next coin video. And you guys take care now. See ya.